everyone. I'm your host, Amy Rickabus, author of The Manager, Unveiling the Invisible Work and Sparking a Leadership Revolution, hitting Amazon May 1st, 2025. I'm the CEO of Tomahawk Information Solutions, an awesome IT crew pulling in 8 figures, and a serial entrepreneur since I was 22. Think real estate flips, prenatal protein powder, and film production. I'm a mom of 6, and this is the Manager Podcast, where we're digging into the unseen hustle and sparking some serious leadership vibes. I'm stoked to introduce Dr. Mary Sunny Raleigh, my very good friend and brilliant founder of Restoration Healthcare. A true force in medicine, Sunny's been my good friend for 8 years, and our sons, my Julian and her Nolan. So we've got that cosmic mom bond with those boys. She's our family's go-to doc, a wizard with vitamins and minerals and IV therapy, healing folks no one else can crack. Her husband, Chris, coaches high school baseball in Idaho, where they live now, and we all share a love for the game. Sunny's juggling an interstate gig, running her practice in California, and rocking a virtual setup via Zoom from Idaho. With chapter 1 of the book of The Manager in your hands, Sunny, what's the most difficult invisible labor that you tackle caring for Nolan, his 2 brothers, your hubby, and your patients?
Amy, it's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me. So that invisible labor, as a mother, is real. Yeah. That is something that no one can ever really prepare you for. And when you look back, and I had a newborn, a 2-year-old, and a 4-year-old opening up a new practice, it's hard to believe that that type of intensity we survived. Yeah. And now, to this day, that invisible labor just really involves managing the household and 3 sons' activities. Right now, I have a senior and its applications to college, and it's those types of add-ons that are seasonal. Yep. You find a rhythm, you dig in, and you make it happen. And as far as that invisible labor, I think it's underappreciated in general until you are speaking with other working moms. Yeah. And then you have that validation from others that interaction at home bleeds over into how you're interacting at work. Yeah. And so I think that intensity of work also augments how organized and well I'm connecting with the boys, husband included, at home. Yeah. So it's important to find the time to connect with them. So I don't want to classify that as a labor, because that is a labor of love, right, of course. And so is setting up the snack shack for the upcoming baseball season and making sure the oldest logs into his portal for that college application status update. So we're doing quite a bit remotely. Yeah. They receive texts from me all day long, reminding them of this, that, and the other. And they're pretty receptive, which is appreciative. And they understand that my work involves a lot of time away. And that support gives me the freedom. And in a way, I feel less guilty having that freedom to be able to do what I need to do to run a successful practice. Yeah,
it's pretty amazing the way you're able to do this interstate mom thing. It's pretty impressive.
Thank you.
That you're still able to manage your household even when you're not even in the same state for a week or 2, which is impressive that you've got that commitment to your patients and to your family, and that you're really doing it all right now.
Thank you.
I see you.
Thank you. We do have the family motto of, teamwork to make the dream work.
Yes, it takes it.
The support from my husband. Yeah. And now that the boys are older, 18, almost 16, May 24th, and then 13. Yep. It's a different set of busy, but, early on, it was making sure everyone survived the day.
Totally.
And, we have 3 very active boys that love, motorcycles and intense things. And so we just are, shifting from keeping everybody safe and, broken bone free
Yes.
to getting to their things on time and making sure that they're pulling their weight as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's a big shift. It's a big shift. And as far as in the book, we touch on like the patriarchal wound. How have you been dissed, I guess, by a dude in your practice or in some way in your business life? How have you felt like condescended to as being a woman, that like patriarchal wound that we carry?
In a lot of industries, it has a slant towards men, and medicine is no different.
Right.
So there are too many to count, unfortunately. And I would say that more of it happened while I was in training. So whether it was med school or definitely during residency. So very focused on looks, always making a comment about how I was dressed. I had 2 surgeons I was spending 2 months with invite me to go swimming with them before morning rounds. And I understood what they were getting at, reading between the lines.
Yeah.
So those things add resolve to me.
Yeah.
I understand it in the moment. I'm usually flabbergasted and shocked because I still think that we should be a little further along than we are.
Yeah.
I had someone as recently as about 9 years ago. I like to shadow other doctors and understand how they're running their practices or any new innovative treatments they're doing. And I asked if I could spend a couple of hours at his clinic, and he texted me a photo. He knew I played college soccer, and he texted me back, "Only if you wear this." And it was a woman in a bikini with a pinny, see-through pinny over the top.
Oh my.
And he was serious.
Okay.
Like he thought he was funny.
Oh, yes, totally.
And so that was shocking to me because we're in a professional setting.
Yeah.
And we're not friends.
Right.
It's not even funny if we were friends.
Right.
So that was...
and that's pretty recent. I mean, that's like, and I think that was one of the things as I grew up, my mom being like this total feminist and being raised by my total feminist mother, I got out into the world thinking it was a completely different world.
Right.
And I got out into it and I went, whoa, something is very wrong here. What is happening?
What happens on a, every other month basis, I attend a lot of baseball games and there's a lot of injuries. So if coach calls me out onto the field, if a pitcher is hit with a line drive to his, lateral malleolus, I'll run out there. And the first comment is, "Are you a nurse?"
Of course, because you're a woman. Correct. So you couldn't possibly be a doctor.
Correct.
My mom wanted to go to medical school and she went to the dean at USC and said she wanted to go to medical school. And he looked at her and he said, "Oh, honey, you're way too pretty to be a doctor. You're just going to get married and have babies." And this was like 1960, right? And it's like, how have we've come a little ways, but how far have we really come?
Right.
It's, so she ended up going to pharmacy school at USC instead, but she would have been an amazing doctor. And it's just crazy that we're still kind of struggling with these old archetypes.
Yes. Yes. So I try with, my commitment to the community. I'm in Haley and Bellevue, Idaho, near Sun Valley, and I coach young girls. I coach soccer in the fall, and then right now I'm coaching girls basketball, and they're all about 8 and 9 years old.
Fun.
And my way of giving back to this next generation of young girls is to run a tight ship on that court/field, have a great time doing it, get these girls excited about the intensity of having a great time on the field, but also I never mention that I'm a doctor unless someone's hurt and then they ask something and they're like, "You're a doctor?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am." And then it's really sweet to see their eyes light up. And I'm like, and you can too. So when I take students, even from med schools, and they are very interested in certain fields, and maybe they don't think they can make it in orthopedics, for example, or neurosurgery. It's like, hey, go find yourself a strong female attending, spend some time with her, and just see how she really shattered that glass ceiling.
Absolutely.
And spend time with others that you may not know yet, but you will find them.
Yeah, I feel like it is that representation matters. It's nice to see it. If women are already there, why wouldn't we team up with the women that are already there, that have already cracked through the ceiling for us? They're wonderful mentors. Most of them really, really want to help us along the way. And that's a lot about like what the manager is about. That's about what this community is about. It's about creating a place where we can help other women rise up too. It's saying, okay, you see us, we've done this, and we know you can do it too. Like, I love that. I think that it's so important. It's such an important message because you've cracked through glass ceilings. I've cracked through glass ceilings, and it's like, I want more girls to just keep doing this with us. Like, let's keep going.
Well, it definitely sounds like you had a very strong role model with your mom.
That's an understatement. Yeah.
And likewise with mine. Mary, she is in the roofing industry.
Wow.
So my whole family does tile and slate roofing.
Wow.
And Mary has also risen to the top of the ranks of that industry.
And that's a very male-dominated industry.
Very.
I don't think women when I think roofing industry.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's the connections that we make that I think allow that space to continue growing into what I feel, she worked hard to gain that space.
Oh, so, absolutely.
I do think it's a extra hard work that we have to do, but at the same time, it's incredibly rewarding.
Yes.
And it's all about, paying it forward.
Absolutely.
To this next group
Absolutely.
So, and also I have 3 sons.
Yeah.
And so it's my duty and my honor to be able to guide them from a strong female standpoint because, they're going to enter school with, more than 50% as females now. Yeah. A lot of med schools are right there at 51, 52% females.
That's amazing.
So I want them also to jump right in and be able to have those deep connections and relationships.
And I really want our boys to know that they haven't done anything wrong. I actually had one of my sons come up to me, my 13-year-old, and say, "Mom, are men bad?" And I was like heartbroken because I don't think that's what this movement is about at all. I think this movement is really more about women finding their voice and being really good communicators and communicating the work that we are doing in a visible way. Like taking it out of the shadows and saying, hey, look, no, I'm doing this and it has value and this is why.
Right.
And I'm awesome. So, and I'm awesome. So just tell me I'm awesome every once in a while and we're good.
Right.
Yes.
Yes. And I do think that's a very inquisitive question that he asked because, it can come across as against sometimes, but it's for.
It is.
It's the for.
I really am hoping this is more of a cooperative movement for women and men to both feel better and like to create a happier society where women are fulfilled and men are fulfilled and like we can all rise up together and so that men don't have as much financial stress because women can also rise and make the dollar per dollar that men make. I would love to see a real egalitarian society where there's real equality for men and women and we really acknowledge each other's strengths and we see each other, we recognize that and we like love each other for it and we cooperate. There's not this competition. I don't want this to be a competition between men and women. Right. I don't want this to be women are better than men. It's just that I want men to know we are doing this work and it does have value.
Yes.
Yeah.
Important.
Yeah, totally. And there's skill behind it too. It really is skilled labor that we're doing, all of this management and organizational work that we're doing. So like when you're doing your organizational work for the house, what apps are you using?
We're really using mainly a calendar system with lots of reminders.
Oh, yeah.
So the 3 sons and their schedules, my husband as working full-time and a head varsity baseball coach, there are a significant overlap in lots of schedules. So that is our main go-to to keep it organized. I do think living in Idaho, I try not to have such a carbon footprint with delivery. So I don't try to do a lot through Amazon, but at the same time, that type of service is helpful. We are out, an hour from a Best Buy, for example.
Wow.
So, the online ordering is helpful, but I try not to have a lot of smart home devices. I have none, actually, because I do not want EMF on at all times.
Right.
Penetrating, growing brains.
Yes.
Simultaneously, everyone needs better quality sleep, in my opinion. So I'm trying to support that and keep it to a minimum.
Yeah.
I also really appreciate just FaceTime and being able to connect with the boys when I am away for a few weeks at a time, and just to see their smile. And even if it's for a couple of minutes, it makes all the difference for that connection point. So at the end, I try to make those decisions on, is this improving our connection?
Right.
Because I also, having raised my boys Waldorf for so many years, it's important that we are off our screens as much as possible. Mm-hmm. And the boys know that if it has anything to do with the outdoors, whether it's a snowboard or a dirt bike or a new baseball glove
or a fishing pole,
that's where I want to spend our time.
Yeah.
Connecting with one another. That. And we try to do trips together that are off of a screen as much as possible. So as much as I want to lean into leveraging technology to improve the efficiency at home, I also, and my husband as well, really protect that time. So we are looking at one another and carrying on a conversation instead of texting from the next room over, for example.
Super important. And then what about AI? Are you using AI?
Yes. And last summer, I happened to do an AI in healthcare course through MIT, which was life-changing and fun, and I loved it. So with that, it was very inspiring. I had incredible teachers through this course. Of course, MIT is always on the cutting edge of a lot of technology. So the realization for me was how in medicine, and I only really can speak for my own practice, we were really missing out on what we could be leaning into with using AI. So for now, the platform I use, it's ambient transcription. So during our visit, I will press record. The AI platform records it and then gives me a completed note at the very end. And I chose that modality so we as physicians could log off at the end of our day and not have 3 hours of charting weighing us down and looming over our shoulder. Because as physicians, I have found everyone is trying to do their very best each and every day as efficiently as possible. Everybody I work with feels that their time is just as, valuable as yours. They don't mean to run late. They don't mean to make you sit and wait for them. But at the same time, it's important that we are protecting our boundaries and saving our energy to go home to our families to refuel our buckets.
Yeah, totally. And as a healer and a boss, in chapter 1, we talk about rising up, like in that manage her energy. And how do you see that in your practice? Like, how are you rising up in your practice? Like, what's the new?
Well, the chapter 1, just really hit home for me, particularly right now in this rhythm of my career. So that manage her mentality, the power behind that is to use your voice and to step into that. There is quite a bit of the research with Brene Brown, for example, that is inspiring. And I feel that connection with self and finding your own self-worth then transmutes to the individuals that you're working with. So by trusting that my intuition, my instinct, my knowledge, my experience is correct, it is right, it is what's best for the collective whole, to not need permission, not to need outside validation, that it's an internal structure, and that system internally is then leaned into, so you can make that decision and stand behind it and not hedge, second guess yourself, because I do feel that there's a lot of women in business that are in a structure where they have to get permission from someone else in order for that decision to be validated.
Yes.
And that's where this is very timely for me.
Yes.
As I am trying to improve operations and streamline. And really, one of our core values is rhythm. And the big argument when I was establishing our core values, because the original word was balance. And I was very hesitant to use that because I'm like, there is no such thing as a balance in a female mother, full-time CEO's life.
I couldn't agree more. I was actually working on the book, and the word balance came up, and it was like, balance it's not a real thing. It's like a construct, but it's not a real thing. It's not an attainable thing. Like, it's more like a teeter-totter really in life. You can do one thing and then you can do another thing, but it's never really like an equilibrium for all things at the same time.
So I chose the word rhythm.
I love that.
Because, I think of you and 6 kiddos, right? Your rhythm now running this company is a lot different than it was 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Or even 3 years ago when you were, very pregnant with, the baby. So the rhythm now is different. And that's fine.
Yeah.
It's just we're in a different space.
And it changes as you grow. Yes. I think as you grow in your leadership skills and your leadership acumen, you start to really wean out the things that aren't that important. Because there's a lot of stuff that we spend time on that isn't that important, right?
Yes, the boundaries are another key element, I think, to, the first chapter of your book, as far as, once you set them and stick to them.
Yes.
And everyone benefits.
Yeah. In a calm, assertive way, you must establish your boundaries with everybody, your kids, your husband, your employees, and they're all the same boundaries. Really.
Correct.
It's that same skill. If you can set a boundary with a 2-year-old, you can set a boundary with your VP.
Yes. I agree. So that boundary setting and that adherence, it takes practice.
Yes, it does.
And that's what we're all doing. We're practicing.
Yes.
And every day, it's like with patients, it's like, you know what? You get to try again tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
As long as you keep trying.
Totally. Yeah. In yoga, we say practice makes practice. And I love it because it's like there's no such thing as perfect ever.
Right.
Well,
I practice family practice because I'm practicing every day.
Okay.
So,
totally.
It's part of that.
Yeah.
And accepting that and knowing. So, there's this construct of we're over here in the unknowing and we all want to get to the knowing.
Yeah.
And in between is this gray where it's like, how resilient are you? Are you going to stay in that space?
Yep.
And are you going to stick to it?
Yes.
And are you going to stand in your voice? Are you going to set those boundaries? And then can you build that capacity to keep going, to get over here to knowing? So I have been really working on staying in that hard in-between space.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, I don't want to go back there to where the lights were off. I had no idea what was going on.
Totally.
So,
and we're working, it's not avoiding failure. It's just working in resilience. Like if something isn't working, we adjust and conquer. That's what we call it in our house, AC. We turn on the AC. We do the adjust and conquer. That means you look at something and you say, okay, this isn't working. We need to fix it. this is what we're going to do. Yes. And it's sometimes you have to assess something, because even if something is, maybe it's working, but it's not working great. Maybe it's not all the way. Maybe it's not optimized. There's a more efficient way you could be doing something. And it's like taking the time to know that there's no such thing as the wrong way to do something, but there are lots of different ways to do things.
Right. And I think, as moms, that's our goal, to teach our children that exact, concept of like, listen, just try.
Yeah.
And then, tomorrow you get to do it differently if you didn't like the way that turned out.
Yeah.
And that resiliency, I know it's thrown around a lot, but I also find, that's the human body too, right? It's incredibly resilient. People do a lot of really hard things to their bodies.
They really do.
And the body's like, okay, well, I'm going to try to tell you that this isn't working for me, but and then, it's just, are you listening?
Yeah.
Are you listening?
Yeah.
And then I do think that's a key thing for relationship is listening.
Yeah. Even the relationship with yourself.
So hard.
It's real hard. Yeah. Taking time to really listen to yourself and to listen to your heart and your stomach and to know like what's working and what's not working for you, right? Like listening to other people, but also taking the time to really honor ourselves too in the process.
And I do think that's a big thing with, your first chapter in Manager. It's like, are you listening to yourself first and foremost and putting yourself on that to-do list? Totally.
Having that relationship with yourself. Because you end up having these relationships with all these other people and everybody's so important that, sometimes you get lost in the fray.
Right. So that internal value.
Yeah, absolutely.
Making sure you're, setting that value for yourself first.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm practicing.
I'm practicing too. I have to practice it every day. I really do. And then I was wondering, do you have one good little nutrition hack that we could give to our guests, for the people that are watching the show? What's your number one nutrition hack that you use for yourself?
Well, I would definitely say you are what you eat. So that is a very cliche thing to say, but at the same time, you really are. So, it's that choice every day. Yeah. And, there's all kinds of struggles with the body and your mentality and how you were raised. And if you had to eat everything on your plate, so you have that, I must finish this concept in your brain. People were hardwired from a very, very young age, which ties into, the gut microbiome. And so when you are what you eat, those short chain fatty acids that we're getting from a whole host of foods, that's fueling that good gut microbiome. And that gut microbiome is how happy our brains are.
Okay, so what short chain fatty acids, what should we be focusing on?
Well, butyrate is one of the biggest ones. Yeah. And, the foods that are have non-soluble fibers are fueling that level of butyrate.
Right, because we actually make butyrate inside of our bodies with the fiber, right?
Correct.
And then the microbiome that's in there and break it down.
So I'm always like, when you show up for a picnic, you want to be the one that's bringing the best picnic basket.
Yes.
And everyone wants to stay and hang out around your picnic basket. Yeah. That's how I, describe that butyrate level. It's like you show up with the best foods and that gut microbiome is going to populate that
I love
intestinal lining. Yeah. And then you're going to have a much better level of neurotransmitters in the brain.
Yes.
And, having 3 boys with potentials for concussions and everyone is extremely active. It's that gut microbiome that's going to immediately determine how well you handle a concussion. So that blood-brain barrier gets breached immediately after a concussion. Wow. So you want that tube in tip-top shape. So you never know when an accident may happen. And it's a lot easier to recover when the terrain from the beginning is as healthy as it can be.
Wow, that's an awesome perspective, especially to all of our moms with teenage boys who are crashing their bicycles and all of the things that boys do.
Yes.
All the ways, like, I feel like they've come up with a million ways to get a concussion. I know one of my mommy friends, her son just got a concussion last week, so I will pass that information along to her. You know, that's an awesome tip. I love that. And so what's next for Restoration Healthcare? Like, what are we going to do next?
Well, we would love to just streamline operations like you were talking before, just making everything much more efficient. And always trying to build the morale and have everyone, we spend more time at work with these colleagues than we do with our own families some weeks. And I want everyone to feel fulfilled at work. I would love for them to keep rising up in their careers. And I just want everyone to feel that they're contributing to our community. So it's streamlining and having some reserves for when we do go home to our families at the end of the day, that we can be present with our families and have enough left over. And that it rides on my decisions and how I feel that the company could improve and constantly reevaluating the processes.
I love that because, employee well-being is very important.
I often say that I can't do what I do without the support around me. And my husband, all through the first, dozen years of starting a private practice, he was a full-time at-home dad. So I could be, a CEO, a medical director, and see as many patients as I possibly could with chronic illness. And then likewise, the support at work, the people around me, I consider the best in the industry, and I just feel so blessed that they choose to come to work at Restoration every day. And I just try to show that appreciation as much as I can because they're the reasons why we're so successful.
I love that, Sunny. And I love that you were able to take your time out of your busy day and be here with me. And the fact that you were in town this week, I feel like it was just meant to be.
Likewise.
I'm just so glad that I could have you.
I appreciate the work you're doing, and I want to support you in any way that I can.
Thank you. And I appreciate the work that you're doing, and I want to support you as well. I mean, you're just brilliant. I know that you're the one that people go to when no one else can figure it out. And I hope that the message gets out there to somebody who needs you right now, that you're here and that you can help them recover from whatever illness they're going through. And that I know when you're sick and no one can heal you, you feel so alone. So it's nice that there are people like you out there in the world that are just so committed to healing, the most unhealable.
Thank you.
Because no one's unhealable, it's just a matter of figuring out what's missing.
That's right. That's right. So thank you so much, Amy.
Yeah. Thank you.